No, we are not. Welcome back to NBA Today. Today is International Women's Day. Join the NBA and WNBA family in celebrating the day by empowering girls to learn and grow beyond the game through her time to play. And now I couldn't be more excited to bring in my friend Sarah Kustok, the first female full-time analyst for an NBA team's local broadcast. Sarah, welcome to NBA Today.
Malika, thank you for having me, sis. I appreciate this.
I'm so
excited. My entire day.
I'm so excited. All right, Sarah, let's just dive right in. The Nets, they've clearly been struggling as of late, despite finally getting Kevin Durant back out on the floor. So what's been your biggest takeaway seeing KD up close here?
It's incredible every time we see Kevin, no matter how much time he has missed when he comes back from injury, just time off. It's flawless. It feels like he has never left the floor. And I don't think you can properly put into words just the impact that he has and how he changed the dynamic of a team. Now, Brooklyn's still searching for wins to go along with these dazzling performance of Kevin Durant. But I think it's all a part of the things we talk about with the acclimation process of everyone getting used to playing with one another again. And getting everyone available on the floor.
Absolutely. And speaking of acclimation process, have you been surprised to see James Harden get integrated so quickly with the Sixers and dominate just right away?
Not one bit, Malika, because and you were there. We saw this, we lived this last season when James came over from Houston to Brooklyn, and he's a basketball savant. He is brilliant with the ball in his hands. Think about the players he has around him to complement. I think we knew, I mean, look, Joel Embiid was already having an MVP caliber season, and what a monster that those two could be together. But what's really stood out to me and jumped out is just the way he's always able to elevate the play of those around him and how much he has an impact with who he plays with. And said this last season, and I'll say it again, his resume is stacked. There's one thing that's missing on it. And so for him, it's all about trying to find a way to get to that championship.
Absolutely. And Philadelphia sure has a good chance to do so. But you're around this team, the Brooklyn Nets, every single day. What's been the reaction in Brooklyn to seeing James Harden just balling out in Philadelphia?
I'm not sure with the team, their focus is even on that. I think right now they have enough on their plate to figure out exactly what's happening in the world of the Nets and trying to get themselves together. When we talk about having everyone available, of course, waiting on Ben Simmons to come back, the full eligibility of Kyrie Irving to be able to play in home games. So overall, I think organizationally, the focus is in Brooklyn. I think for Nets fans and maybe for all of us, I don't know if they feel the same way I do. This could be an extraordinary matchup if they happen to meet, whether in the postseason or down the line. I think we all just want to see some really fun basketball, a fun rivalry, and that could be in the works depending on what happens and how things play out.
Absolutely. Can I tell you a secret, Sarah? I kind of hope we see it play out. I really do. I mean, it would be fun, exciting basketball, but I do know one thing. The Eastern Conference, it is so tight that whatever matchups we do see, they are going to be excellent.
Yeah.
Sarah Kustok, thank you so much for joining us on NBA Today.
Thanks for having me, Malika.
Of course. All right. So here's my question, though. When I'm thinking about what I want to ask our panel, at some point, Ben Simmons, he will be back in Philadelphia. He put up an exponential amount of good games compared to the bad ones versus maybe, the Hawks, other things like that. But does he deserve a tribute video? That's going to be my question. I want to start with you, Petty Richard. You weren't even paying attention.
I was not. Perk was talking to me.
You don't even deserve the question.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Perk. Go ahead, Perk. Start with Perk.
Well, all right. Here, let me remind you then what we're talking about. Because Ben Simmons, does he deserve a tribute video before we listen to these two?
Oh, I remember this question.
No,
I remember this question. I thought it was stupid, and I didn't think we should talk
it.
Yeah, listen.
Lost your privilege.
It's a stupid question.
Well, that's a loaded question. Yeah, I do actually. Ben did a lot of good things here. It didn't end well, right? Just like marriages and all kinds of other things don't end well, right? But Ben did a lot of good things here. And so, it's funny. I don't know if we are or not, but if we did, I'd have no issues with it.
What do you think that atmosphere will be like?
No, I don't get involved in that. I don't know. Our fans are so silent, so I can't imagine anything happening.
It is what it is. He'll be fine. He's a big boy, and he's excited to join our team and all that stuff. So he wants to be there on the bench with his teammates.
We're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry.
I was distracted. I mean, he's over here
I was
telling
not
me.
you. You was
He's
talking
over
to me.
No, listen. He's over here telling
Does he
me.
deserve it? Actually, no.
Hell
Does
no,
he
that's the
deserve it or
dumbest
not?
question. Listen, not you.
Oh, you want
not
to
you,
keep,
not
want to
you.
keep testing me
Not
today,
you.
sir.
I'm saying the people that decided to put you in a position and make us ask that question. No, he does not deserve anything. Did Kyrie get a tribute video when he went back to Boston? Did he? Did he?
No, I'm with you. Like, look, we gotta just quit handing out certain
tribute
things.
videos. Like,
a
what on
tribute
earth?
video for a person.
This is everybody gets a trophy life. That ain't it.
That quit on your franchise.
What?
Like,
Look,
I think Doc know what he was doing. He's just trying to lighten the mood.
No, these people know what they're doing. It's 'cause they get us mad. They ask these questions to get us mad.
No, listen, because Doc Rivers is the reason that we're talking about it. He's actually the one that brought it up. So here's the thing. Doc actually liked Ben personally. So I feel what Doc is saying. Doc is just trying to lighten up the mood a little bit. But look, Malika, when you came over here, obviously, hold on, listen. Obviously,
You're not gonna take ownership? You're not gonna take
because
ownership?
you was telling me how I just put you on.
You literally just told me to follow your son on TikTok.
You just said.
Told me to follow your son on
I told you
TikTok.
I was putting you on my TikTok today
All right.
as usual.
You told me to follow your son on TikTok. That's what you
How about
said.
this? We still have much more to come on NBA Today. I will be back. I don't know about these tonight.
we're done.
I do want to point out that his necklace there, those initials, are the initials of his wife and his children, his twins and his son. All right, we now welcome back senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski. So, Woj, what are you hearing about how Westbrook is handling this behind the scenes?
Well, listen, it's one thing to come to L.A. and play for the Lakers with the stature of Russell Westbrook, the significance of that trade, and there's pressure that comes with that. There's going to be criticism that comes with the Lakers when you don't play well. But what's, I think, different for Westbrook is that he's from here. He grew up here. He played his college basketball here. He met his wife here. This is where he wants to raise his family, and he's had an immense impact on the communities that he grew up in. You know, he stayed very connected at UCLA, and I think more than just coming to LA to try to win a championship, it was to really be a part of this place again. And I think that's part of beyond the basketball criticism and how the team's done. And I think when he sees how that's impacted his family, you know, he's very close with his parents, and they still live here. And I think seeing how it's impacting them, and you saw the emotion of it last night. And I think as a player, you know you sign up for that. You know that you're in the public arena, and when you don't play well, and you don't play well for the Lakers, the team's not winning, there's criticism that comes with that. But I think it's exponential because of his ties here, his history, and the impact he's had as a member of this community in LA. Right.
I remember talking to Russell Westbrook earlier in the season and asking him about maybe something that he didn't foresee when he came to LA. And he chose to say, I think people forget that this is the first time I get to take my kids to school every day. Those sorts of things. That's something that he didn't necessarily think he was going to get to do and didn't realize the gravity of until he arrived in LA. But I want to dive into the heart of Westbrook's comments last night about the harassment his family is experiencing. Because to start, Kendrick, just your reaction to what he said.
You know what? I said this, and we were on here maybe about a month ago, and I said that Russell Westbrook is broken. And I'm not talking about his jump shot. Yes, we can go down the line and say how he should play better, but I could see it. I could see it in his body language. And now we finally are realizing that Russell Westbrook is human. And if you watch this film right here, look, he's not even involved. Like, mentally, he's not even there. He didn't even move that entire possession at all. And so now, you know, when you feel sorry for him at one aspect because you don't never want to see, like, you know, his family get attacked. But then on the other side of it, you also have to play a role of actually keeping your family in check. And so I give you an example for us with my wife. She knew when I was playing, I got a lot of criticism, especially when I went to Oklahoma City. I told her, stay away from that. Don't respond to nobody in the social media. I can handle it. This is what I signed up for. So it's to the point now, and this is not a hot take. This is just being real. It's to the point where I'm almost to the point where I think it's almost best for Russ just not to play the rest of this season because he's not there. When you hear a guy that you grew up watching in Magic Johnson criticize you the way that Magic did the other night and saying how that if this don't happen, it would be the worst trade and Russell Westbrook hasn't done this. Russell West, that hurts a little differently. So right now, I understand Russ, and I understand him protecting his family, but I also understand that, hey, you're getting paid $40+ million. It's a certain level of expectations that you got to, that's been held for you that you got to be able to, live up to.
But I think it's a fine line, right? Because I know Russell Westbrook, he mentioned the media criticism specifically. He also mentioned fan criticism. And again, the sign up for part, right? That when you play poorly, there is some level of analysis or digging into the game or critiquing the game that I think is warranted and expected. But what people don't expect is the mean part necessarily and the level of which people are that way, especially now with social media, with it being constant, with it being all the time. Because I think when you're not looking at someone in their face and having a conversation with them, you don't say the same things as you would behind a screen or when you're yelling into an abyss of an arena. But Richard, how did you sort of shoulder that?
Go
ahead.
Malika, to your point, I understand that, right? I get death threats right now because of an NBA 2K game. Like, people talk about my
I've actually heard this.
Like, real talk. So I understand.
What?
Yes, I understand. I get death threats about, hey, if you talk about my player again, it's gonna be me and
They know
you.
that's pre-recorded, right?
Right. So,
2K.
but on the
yes.
but on the other hand of it, Malika, Russell Westbrook has not been nice to the media either throughout his career. So it's a give and take. But go ahead, RJ. I'm gonna leave it.
No, I got you. And look, everything that everybody's saying is completely correct, and you understand. One, there are certain media members that are clickbait, that like to rile up the crowd, that's what they do.
Sure.
As former players, I will never say anything on television that I would not say to a player's face. Now, that's a good and bad thing because I'm a crazy person, and so I say crazy stuff to people's faces all the time. Yeah. But for Russell Westbrook, when people were sitting up here and talked about you winning the MVP for 7 straight months, and they were just saying all of these positive things about you. Now, conversely, if you play that poorly for a team that people feel like should contend for a championship, there's going to be a ton of criticism that comes your direction. So there might be some media members that take it that doesn't feel like it's just basketball, it feels personal, but for the majority of the people, we're keeping it just basketball. The problem is when we keep it just basketball, the basketball is really bad. The basketball is really bad. Now, when you want to start talking about family, I didn't have kids till later in my career. So my kids now are 5 and 7. So they are just now starting to understand. I didn't have to deal with when I played extremely poor and my kids had to go to school and listen to that. That would be hard for anybody, and especially for your wife, for your parents, for all the people, especially in the community that you grew up in. I understand the difficulty of that. But you have to understand that, you can only protect your family and you can protect your kids, and that's it. There's nothing else that you can do. And I know we want to say that fans are going to be mean. Having these conversations right now are not helping the situation by any means. The more you ignore these things, the more likely they're going to go away. Because now you're going to hear, I hate to say it, you're going to hear the West Brick chants any city he goes to for anything because they think that that's going to get underneath the skin. Every city he goes to, no different than the mascot thing that we saw, a couple of weeks ago, where all of a sudden now the mascots are messing with who was it? I forgot.
Devin Booker.
Devin Booker, excuse me. But now it's cyclical. So the more you ignore it, the better off you're going to be, but that becomes difficult.
But ignoring it, again, when it is constant, it becomes difficult. And I only experience it on a much smaller scale than Russell Westbrook does, but it's hard to ignore it when you hear it all the time. And when it's not a criticism, at least speaking for myself, I can take when it's a criticism of the work. When it's a criticism of who I am, of what that is where I empathize with Russell Westbrook.
But it's not really like, Malik, it's not criticizing him. Like they saying Westbrook, they're talking about him missing shots, right? And we all have been to that point. And to your point of talking about your children, I actually have a 14-year-old and a 10-year-old that were there and had to go to school while I was in Oklahoma City and getting bashed. And my kids used to come on and say, Dad, man, my friend was like, you Kendrick Perkins' son? It's like, your dad sucked. But it's those uncomfortable conversations that you have to deal with. Again, this is what you signed up for. And I hate to bring it up, because he has nothing to do with it. But just look at LeBron James. Can you imagine what his kids go through on a day-to-day basis when they go to school and have to hear about the GOAT conversation, or LeBron missing free throws, or LeBron not being Kobe, or he not being Jordan? These are the conversations, and this is part of the growth that Russell Westbrook is going to have to deal with.
And all of that makes sense to me. I just think, I guess the only thing that we can do here is cover him as fairly as we can, right? And then to fans, think about it.
Be
when you're going to a game,
respectful.
Yeah.
think
Be
about it. Be
respectful.
respectful. Is this something that you would want